Let's look ahead to the third T20I on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. Selection calls. Credit to Kohli for making changes in just one game, Sanjay. But as we look ahead to the third game, he did say Rohit Sharma will be resting for just the first couple of T20Is. Do you foresee changes for this third T20I for India?
But what are the changes that they would want to make? The pitch will, I think, continue to be similar. So I don't think they would want to play an extra bowler. Bowlers did the job. If Hardik Pandya is fit, they don't need to play an extra seamer. So I don't see any changes likely, unless Rohit Sharma wants a hit, then KL Rahul makes way for him. But apart from that, I don't see any need based purely on his performance.
On that point, is KL Rahul's form at all a worry? Sanjay, I'll stick with you and go to Ian as well for a comment.
See, we've seen KL Rahul go through this phase before. And that's one of the advantages you have when you followed Indian cricket closely for a long time. You see players going through phases. We've seen KL Rahul bat superbly at the test level. We've seen KL Rahul average 15 or 20 in 5 consecutive test series where he's had problems outside the off stump. We've seen KL Rahul, get the orange cap at a strike rate of 145, 150. Then you see him be the top run getter at a strike rate of 125, 130. So we've seen various shades of KL Rahul. And this is one of those, KL Rahul that we've seen who gets a little muddled in his mind with that line outside the off stump. And when he goes, every time he gets out and goes shaking his hand, you can see that he gets affected by his failures a lot, his dismissal a lot. And when he starts thinking too much about that line outside the off stump, we've seen him struggle. So best for him to clear his mind and just, as Virendra Sehwag says, see the ball, hit the ball.
Okay, Rohit Sharma may well be available for this one, Vali, in which case would Virat Kohli decide to take a rest now that he's got some runs as well? Or would you make that swap for Rahul, who's an important player of this T20 side, and not sure if you'd rather leave him out after a few low scores?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's obviously a lot of T20 coming up as well, isn't it, with the IPL around the corner. So, I think Rahul, he's a quality player. We know that. We've seen that for a long time now. I think what England have done well is they just didn't give him anything early in his innings. I think when you're sometimes desperate for a score, that first couple of, you'd love to have a half volley or want to clip off the pads early, just settles you, as happened with Kishan early as well. So I think England were just perfect. They didn't let him go. And you just felt the pressure was building there. But look, he's a quality player. I'm sure he'll come through. It'll be interesting. We don't quite know, do we? I think both with Kohli and Morgan at the moment, I think through these 5 T20s, what selection will be? We could be shocked a couple of times, I think, through this series.
Yeah, fair enough. What about England then? If the surface is dry as it was in the second one, slightly different to the first T20, Ian, does Moeen Ali become a tempting prospect in the 11? If Mark Wood is fit, does he reclaim his place?
I think it'll be one of those two, to be honest with you. I think that, to be honest, if Wood is fit and pulls up for the next one, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes again. I mean, he was outstanding in that last game, and if he's fit, you probably want him playing.
Would you want a Moeen Ali Sanjay against Ishan Kishan at the top, left-hander Rishabh Pant? They don't have someone who can take the ball away. Is he a tempting prospect on that front? Suddenly, England now need to plan for an Ishan Kishan.
The other thing, with the conditions that we have is that if your spinner bowls in the afternoon, then he makes an impression. Otherwise, at night, it almost sort of, doesn't make that much of an impact on the game. But considering the way, and I expected that to happen, Adil Rashid had a great start in the last match. First over, he had Shikhar Dhawan against him, and they played him out just for 2 or 3 runs in that first over of the match. I expected Ishan Kishan to go after him, which he did. Rishabh Pant did the same. So considering that the same kind of threat is imminent for England, might as well have Moeen Ali and have that additional backup, but more for his off spin, because I think this young Indian batsman may just have the measure of Adil Rashid.
All right, fair enough. What about whether these tosses are suddenly becoming important now? Sanjay, from your observation, 7 p.m. start, no matter what sort of surface, is chasing looking like it's a significant advantage in this series?
See, the dew didn't come in too much, but it's likely to. But I think it's a significant advantage, and it was very easy to see how quickly India started bowling, their slow deliveries. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar taking the pace of Shardul Thakur, Washington Sundar got the ball to grip a little bit. So there is enough dryness. At least you're expecting maybe 12, 13 overs of bowling on a dry pitch. And once nightfall comes in, even if there's no dew, the ball comes on a lot better. And that's one of the reasons I'm hearing that the IPL always started at 8, because a lot of captains felt that if you start at 7, you give a significant advantage. there's a team that is bowling first when they win the toss.
All right, Ian, is that just the norm now? Whoever chases, best chance to win?
I think there seems to be a lot of that, and I don't think that's just in India. I think a lot of teams prefer chasing, but I think again, you're still going to have to find a way of winning if batting first. I mean, again, if the World Cup is in similar conditions, where again the dew does come in, then you still got to find a way. I think England will be sat there tonight thinking we still left 20 runs out there, and that would have been probably game would have been on a little bit more, probably still not enough. As it did look a little bit better to bat in the evening. But I think they'll look at a bit of both rather than just that. But they've still got to find a way, because if you lose a toss in a semi-final, you can't just say that's it. So you've got to find a way of coming up when you're batting first.
All right. Thank you very much. Ian Bell, Sanjay Manjrekar. That's a wrap. Series is poised quite nicely. 1-1 after 2. Let's see how either team responds in the third T20. They come thick and fast. And of course, we'll always have you covered on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.